The Monday after the competition, their team met to finalize their accounts. The total raised was enough not only to secure housing for Funke's family for 6 months but to establish a small emergency fund for other families facing eviction. We should make this permanent, Sarah suggested. An annual competition that funds scholarships for students from underprivileged communities. Everyone agreed enthusiastically. Mr. Okonkwo, who had joined the meeting, offered his full support. What you've accomplished goes beyond mathematics, he told them. You've demonstrated what true education looks like, using knowledge to solve real problems. That afternoon, Oluwaseun and Funke visited a small apartment building not far from Makoko. The landlord, impressed by their story and the advance payment they offered, agreed to rent a 2-bedroom flat to Funke's family at a reasonable rate. It's not fancy, Funke said as they inspected the empty rooms, but it's safe and dry. And I can still get to school from here. Watching her face as she looked around the space, planning where furniture would go and which room would be hers, Oluwaseun felt something shift inside him. This wasn't just about passing math anymore. Somewhere along the way, helping Funke had become the most important thing in his world. You know, he said casually, I think I might actually like math now. Funke laughed. Miracles do happen. Funke's family moved into their new apartment the following weekend. Oluwaseun and their friends helped carry the few belongings they had saved from their home in Makoko. Funke's parents, initially reserved around her school friends, warmed up when they realized these privileged kids had worked so hard to help them. Your daughter has taught me more than math, Oluwaseun told Funke's father as they arranged furniture. She showed me what real problems look like and how to solve them step by step. Education should do that, her father replied. Not just fill heads with facts but teach how to think and care for others. That's why we sacrificed everything for Funke's schooling. With the housing crisis resolved, Funke returned to her usual focused self at school. Their tutoring sessions continued, but the dynamic had changed. Now Oluwaseun worked not just to pass tests but because he genuinely wanted to understand. When the next major exam results were posted, Oluwaseun stared in disbelief at his score, 89%. Not just a pass, but one of the highest marks in class. Mr. Okonkwo actually smiled when he handed back the paper. Whatever Miss Adeyemi is doing, it's working, he commented. Perhaps you two should consider tutoring other students as well. That comment sparked another idea. During lunch, Oluwaseun proposed it to Funke. What if we use some of the extra money from the competition to start a free tutoring program for students from Makoko? We could help them prepare for scholarship exams like the one you took. Funke considered it carefully. We'd need a space to teach, and more tutors than just us. I bet we could use a classroom after school, Oluwaseun said. And I know at least 5 people who would volunteer to help. By the end of the week, their Mathematics for All program had the principal's approval and 10 student volunteers. As the term progressed, Oluwaseun found himself looking forward to seeing Funke each day. Their tutoring sessions often drifted into conversations about family, dreams, and the future. He learned about her childhood in a small village before her family moved to Lagos seeking better opportunities. She listened to his fears about living up to his father's expectations. One Saturday, while helping with the weekend tutoring program they'd established in Makoko, Oluwaseun watched Funke patiently explaining fractions to a young girl. The child's face lit up with understanding, mirroring the same moment Oluwaseun had experienced months ago. You're a natural teacher, he told Funke later as they walked home. Maybe you should consider that instead of medicine. Maybe both, she replied thoughtfully. A doctor who also teaches. Communities need health education as much as they need treatment. Oluwaseun found himself admiring not just her intelligence but her clarity of purpose. While he was still uncertain about his own future, Funke never wavered from her goal of improving her community. These feelings confused him. He'd had crushes before, but this was different, deeper and more complex. He valued Funke's friendship too much to risk changing it. Yet when their hands accidentally touched as they reached for the same book, the jolt he felt couldn't be ignored. What he didn't know was that Funke was experiencing similar confusion. She had never planned on becoming close to anyone at King's College, viewing her scholarship as purely a means to an end. Now, she found herself looking forward to Oluwaseun's jokes and the way he made difficult situations seem manageable. Neither of them mentioned these growing feelings, both too focused on their studies and the tutoring program to complicate matters. But others had started to notice, exchanging knowing glances when the two spent lunches deep in conversation, oblivious to everyone else. 3 months after the math competition, their tutoring initiative had grown beyond their expectations. 25 students from Makoko now received regular help with their studies. 2 had already won partial scholarships to good schools. Their work caught the attention of a local newspaper, which ran a feature story titled "Students Bridging Educational Divide." The article praised their efforts and highlighted how the program had grown from a crisis solution into a sustainable community initiative. The publicity brought unexpected benefits. A local business owner offered to donate computers for a small learning center. Another provided funds for textbooks and materials. Even the government education office took notice, sending a representative to observe their methods. "We should be thanking you," the official told them. "You've created a model we could replicate in other communities." At school, their status changed. Funke was no longer seen as just the scholarship girl, but as a leader making real change. Oluwaseun, once known mainly for his family's wealth, was now respected for his commitment to something beyond himself. His parents noticed the change too. "You've grown up," his mother remarked one evening. "A few months ago, all you cared about was the newest phone or sneakers. Now you're organizing educational programs." Funke has been a good influence, his father added with a knowing smile that made Oluwaseun blush. That weekend, during their usual tutoring session in Makoko, Oluwaseun watched Funke laughing with a group of children. The simple joy on her face made his heart race. He could no longer pretend his feelings were just friendship. End-of-term exams approached, bringing increased pressure. Oluwaseun and Funke spent more time studying, sometimes late into the evening at his house or the small learning center they'd established. One night, walking Funke home after a particularly long session, Oluwaseun decided he couldn't keep his feelings hidden any longer. They stopped at a small park near her apartment, sitting on a bench under a streetlight. "I have something to tell you," he began nervously. "And I'm afraid it might change things between us." Funke looked at him, concern in her eyes. "What is it?" "I think I'm falling in love with you," he said, the words rushing out. "Actually, I don't think, I know. You're the most amazing person I've ever met. You're smart and kind and you care about things that matter. And I understand if you don't feel the same way, or if you think it would complicate everything we're doing." "Oluwaseun," she interrupted, a small smile playing on her lips. "Stop talking." He fell silent, heart pounding. "I've been feeling the same way," she said quietly. "But I was afraid too. We come from such different worlds. And there's so much at stake with school and the tutoring program." "Does that mean," he asked hesitantly. "It means I care about you too," Funke replied. "More than just as a friend or study partner." Oluwaseun felt a wave of relief and happiness wash over him. "So what do we do now?" "The same things we've been doing," she said practically. "Study, run the program, work toward our goals. Just, together in a different way." He reached for her hand, and this time when their fingers intertwined, neither pulled away. Their new relationship faced immediate challenges. Some people at school whispered that Funke was only interested in Oluwaseun for his family's money. Others suggested he was just going through a charity phase. They both did their best to ignore the comments. "People will always talk," Funke said when Oluwaseun got angry about a particularly nasty rumor. "We know the truth." The truth was that they balanced each other perfectly. Funke helped Oluwaseun develop discipline and purpose, while he helped her see possibilities beyond immediate needs. Together, they dreamed bigger than either would have alone. Their tutoring program continued to expand. By the end of the school year, they had established a formal non-profit organization with help from Oluwaseun's father's lawyer. Mathematics for All now had 5 branches across Lagos, with plans to expand to other cities. When final exam results were posted, both had reason to celebrate. Funke maintained her position at the top of their class, while Oluwaseun had improved to the top 20%, an achievement that seemed impossible months earlier. "I'm proud of you," his father said, examining his results. "Not just for these grades, but for the young man you're becoming." For Funke's part, her academic success secured her scholarship for the following year. More importantly, her family was stable in their new home, with her father finding better employment through connections made at the learning center. As they prepared for their final year of secondary school, both began thinking about university. Funke remained committed to medicine, while Oluwaseun had discovered an interest in economics and social entrepreneurship. "We might end up at different universities," Funke pointed out one day as they discussed applications. "Then we'll make it work," Oluwaseun replied with the confidence of someone who had learned that problems had solutions if you approached them methodically. 1 year after Funke had first walked into his classroom, Oluwaseun stood on a stage next to her, addressing the crowd at the second annual Lagos mathematics competition. The event had grown significantly, now hosting over 500 participants from across the state. "When we started this last year, it was because one family needed help," Oluwaseun told the audience. "Today, it's about creating opportunities for hundreds of students who deserve an equal chance at education." Funke then stepped forward to announce their newest initiative, a permanent scholarship fund for students from underserved communities, named after Mr. Okonkwo, who had recently retired. "Mathematics taught us that problems have solutions," she said. "But more importantly, we learned that those solutions are best found together." After the successful event, they visited Makoko, where their first learning center had grown into a proper community hub with computers, books, and volunteer teachers. Children who had once seemed destined to drop out of school were now thriving academically. "Remember when you thought you couldn't understand math?" Funke asked as they watched a group of students working on problems. "That feels like another lifetime," Oluwaseun replied. "You changed everything for me." "We changed things for each other," she corrected him, squeezing his hand. "And we're just getting started." Later that evening, sitting on the rooftop of Oluwaseun's house and looking out at the Lagos skyline, they talked about the university acceptance letters they had both received that week. Though they would be attending different schools, Funke studying medicine at the University of Lagos while Oluwaseun pursued economics at Covenant University, they were confident in their relationship and shared mission. "You know what I realized?" Oluwaseun said, putting his arm around her shoulders. "Success isn't about having the biggest house or the most expensive car." "What is it about then?" Funke asked, though she already knew his answer. "It's about lifting others as you rise," he replied. "You taught me that equation, and it's the most important one I've ever learned." As the sun set over Lagos, they sat in comfortable silence, two young people from different worlds who had found both love and purpose in an unexpected partnership, a proof that the mathematics of love consisted of adding value to each other's lives and multiplying it throughout their community.